What is up, guys? Pinobi here, bringing you another manga chapter review. This one's going to be chapter 616, Anniversary Revenge. Obviously a One Piece chapter review, if I didn't already say that. We're going to do this one a little bit different than normal. I love going through the chapters with you, but there is so much going on in this chapter. 616 really is a big setup chapter in my mind. It's called Anniversary Revenge, which means two things to me. Anniversary meaning Vanderdecken wants it to be his anniversary with Shirahoshi, the princess, and Hody Jones wants to get his revenge on humans, and he's trying to take over Fishman Island so we can get that Fishman Island unity to really make his big move on the human world. So we're going to talk about a few different things in today's review. There's going to be a link below to the chapter, so if you haven't already read it, pause this video, like it because I'm so helpful, go read the chapter, and come back. And we're really going to talk about a lot of stuff today. We're going to try to make it pretty quick though, because I know that you guys don't want to sit here forever. Some of the different key points I want to point out is the different factions that we're dealing with, some of the different key areas, some of the possible matchups, some other random things that I just want to talk to you guys about, and we're going to wrap it up with some arc resolution. There's going to be some predictions along the way. I think this is a really key chapter to be doing predictions for, because all the action is just getting ready to start. So let's go ahead and get into it. We're going to start with the first thing I mentioned, which is factions. We have the Straw Hat Pirates, obviously Luffy, Zoro, Nami, Usopp, Sanji, Chopper, Robin, Frankie, Brook, which are kind of spread out, but we'll get to that in a minute. The Hody Jones Alliance, as I'm going to refer to them as, which is Hody, Vanderdecken, Hyozu, I don't know exactly how you say his name. For those of you that don't know, he's the octopus merman, the one that poisoned Luffy. And then the fodder, random fodder. This could include Vanderdecken's pirate crew, which may have some different people on it that could actually be useful, and Hody Jones fodder. So that's pretty much what we're dealing with there. The Neptune army, which in this chapter they pretty much say that Neptune and the three princes are the only notable people, but there's also, you know, fodder and everything. The Fishman Pirates, which in this chapter, it seems like Jinbei is going to be the only one that plays a role in this arc, but it's possible that we'll see some other people, so keep them in mind at least. Karabo, and then maybe Korobu and his crew, depending on what happens. It said that it would take them some time to get their ship recoded, and they'll have to get a new ship and stuff, so we'll see what happens. And then the other segment, which is pretty much Den, which we find out in this chapter is Tom's younger brother, supposedly. Hachi, Shirahoshi, Megalo, people like this. So we'll explain a little bit more about that in a minute. So first, let's just go ahead and go by the area. This is how I think the anime would do it. If you watch the anime, you'll see how they do Impel Down, they do Alabasta. They have these animated, they have like these images that show pictures of where everyone's at, and it can be kind of helpful in describing the action scenes. So let's just go ahead and make some predictions about some of the key areas we think are going to be influential for the arc. First of all, we have Ryugu Palace, however you say that. Right now, we have Zoro, Nami, Usopp, and Brook there from the Straw Hats. Neptune is there, and fodder for the Neptune army. And Hody/fodder is there for the Hody Alliance. So I'm guessing that some key battles are going to take place there next chapter, so that's definitely one of the key areas we want to watch out for. We'll get more into the matchups in a minute. The second key place, and in my opinion is going to be the biggest key place of the arc, is the Sea Forest, which, like I said last review, I think is going to be that little itty-bitty bubble below the main bubble of Fishman Island. You can look at a map to see what I'm talking about. It's a little difficult to notice. But these are the people that I think are going to make it there, not necessarily the people that are there right now. But we're going to have Luffy, Frankie, and Robin from the Straw Hat Pirates, because remember, Robin is headed there on a bus or whatever the hell. Frankie's already there, and Luffy is on his way there with Megalo and Shirahoshi. One of the main reasons I think that the forest is going to be a key place is because if you were paying attention, it had a bubble, which means that it is not underwater. Well, it is underwater, but it's not in water, which means that fighting can happen for Devil Fruit users, which will explain why I think that's more important in a second. Shirahoshi and Megalo will be there from the other category. Den will be there from the other category. Vanderdecken, I think, will of course make it there, since he is following Luffy and crew. And then I'm thinking that Karabo will also show up there, but we'll see where exactly he does wind up. So then the last location, well, not last location, other locations that we'll see is wherever the princes are. We don't know where they're at, we don't know where they're going. Well, I mean, we know that they're trying to get the Straw Hats, so the princes might end up in some of these other key locations we've talked about. Hody Alliance, where exactly are the other members? In this chapter, Hody said, like, go to your locations or whatever, so we're not sure exactly where those places are. Sanji, Chopper, and Hachi, I wasn't paying too much attention to exactly where they were, or if it was, like, underwater or not. But I assume since Chopper was there, fine, there was land. So that's another place to keep in mind. Some of the possible matchups. Actually, before we get into that, I just want to explain why I think a little bit more about the forest. The reason I think Korobu might show up there is because he's a Devil Fruit user. Vanderdecken and Luffy are both Devil Fruit users. So I'm expecting their fight to not be in the water, because them fighting with bubbles would be kind of ridiculous in my opinion. So I'm thinking that they're going to both show up at the Sea Forest, and of course Jinbei is going to be there too. I actually didn't put him on the list, but Jinbei will of course be there. And yeah, so I think that they're going to be fighting above water. Jinbei also, if he were fighting in water, would kind of be pretty broken, especially against Devil Fruit users, so I'm thinking the fight will be not in water. And I say Korobo because Korobo is of course a Devil Fruits user. And me personally, I think he's going to want to capture Princess Shirahoshi. He already is trying to capture the mermaids to sell them off, and I think he's going to kind of just wind up at the forest for whatever reason, however Oda decides to play it off, and he'll want to capture Shirahoshi. Plus, that's where the Straw Hat's ship is, and he currently has no, Korobu has no way to get out of Fishman Island. He doesn't have a ship. And of course he's a Devil Fruit user, so I think he might want to try to take the Sunny or get a ride with them or whatever he's going to do. So that's something to keep in mind. Possible matchups, we have Korobu versus Vanderdecken. This is just one thing I'm thinking of because, like I said, Korobu might want to capture Princess Shirahoshi, so that could cause a conflict. Zoro versus Hody. That's something that we could easily see because they're the two strongest people, in my opinion, that are at the palace right now. So that's a matchup. Although I really don't... I was expecting Zoro to have a fight with Hyozu, which is another possible matchup. Because, one, Hyozu's a swordsman, a very high caliber swordsman, so it seems. Two, Hyozu poisons people, which... Zoro usually has a handicap in most of his fights, or takes some sort of damage. You guys can reflect on that while I drink. And, yeah, I mean, I just think him being poisoned, Zoro being poisoned would be a reasonable handicap for one of his fights. It's something I would expect. It would cause a little bit more emergency and stuff. So those are some of the key matchups. I mean, if you think about it by the area, Luffy, Frankie, Robin, all versus Vanderdecken in one area, because that's what it seems like it's heading to. That just seems really broken to me. We don't know exactly how strong Vanderdecken is, but I'm thinking he's not as strong as those three Straw Hats combined. So maybe Korobu will show... Oh, and plus Jinbei. So 4 versus 1? I'm not seeing that happening. So maybe Luffy and Co. will be intercepted before they get to the Sea Forest, and I'm incorrect about being that being the main battle location. Or 2... Korobu could show up and side with Vanderdecken. 3, one of the other Hody Alliance characters could show up to aid him. The possibilities are really endless, but those are some of the key things I'm thinking of. Just something to keep in mind. Then at the palace, Nami, Usopp, and Brook. So far, Hody looked like the only significant character there for the Hody Alliance. So 4 Straw Hats versus him and Fodder does not seem to be an even matchup, even though he is really broken with drugs, I assume. So I'm thinking that at least one of the Straw Hats is going to go off and do something else and fight one of the other Hody Alliance characters. But who knows, maybe he'll be that broken. We're going to have to see how it plays out. Some other things that I'd like to talk about is the messages that Jinbei had, of course, sent to Luffy which is do not fight Hody. And I'm thinking, why did he send him that message? We have to think about that. Oda does things for a reason. Is it because Hody does like the drugs, and he's afraid that Luffy will be injured because Hody obviously hates humans and he'll like drug overdose? Is it because Jinbei wants to deal with him personally? They have some sort of history together. Is it because Hody is a traitor and everything, and new fisherman pirates? I assume they hate the old fisherman pirates, so there's probably some animosity there. Maybe Jinbei actually likes Hody for some reason and feels bad for him because he had poor role models like Arlong. So that could be the reason he wants to deal with him himself. And then the second message, meet in Sea Forest. Why exactly does Jinbei need to meet with Luffy right now? Is it because he has a more personal message that he has to tell to Luffy? That's definitely something that we need to keep in mind. That could definitely be it. Maybe he just wants to explain the situation to him himself. I'm not sure. Another key thing we want to talk about, I want to talk about, is Big Mama, because her name is kind of protecting Fishman Island, much like Whitebeard's was. I need to go back and reread specifically, but I think like they pay her or something with something ridiculous like candy or something. I don't know. The point is she's protecting Fishman Island for some sort of payback. And if the whole prediction thing about Luffy destroying Fishman Island comes true, then is she going to have a controversy with him for doing that? How exactly is that going to play out? Is Luffy gonna have a good be saw in a good light by Fishman Island people at the end of the arc, or in a bad light? I would suspect good, but you never know. And is her crew big like Whitebeard's? Like, could she even reinforce the Fishman Island territory this arc? So far, it seems like Fishman Island, with the straw hats plus the princes and everything, plus Jinbei, they're looking a lot stronger than Hody's group. So I'm gonna have to see what exactly goes on there with those matchups. Because Ryugu Palace seems very Straw Hat favored unless someone else shows up, and the Forest seems very Straw Hat favored unless someone else shows up. One of the things that we could see is Den. Den is supposedly what's-his-face's brother. I'm not too sure about that. Oda did a good job explaining the genetics of Fishman and how exactly it works. And that makes a lot of sense to me. I think that's a very good thing that he put into the story. But the problem is, Den just seems so suspicious. He's got that mask thing. He just seems kind of not at all like Tom, except for he said with a Dawn, and then he started talking about the letters from Kokoro. So I'm thinking he probably is related, since Oda went through the trouble of explaining that. But it's just something to keep my mind on. Even if he is related to him, that doesn't mean he can't be a bad guy. So we'll see exactly how that plays out. He already has tattoos. I wouldn't be surprised to see him take off his shirt and he's got a new Fishman Island, a new Fishman Pirate, tattoo. And then he just goes to work and teams up with Vanderdecken or something to shift the balance. Some other things I want to talk about. Like I already said, Korobo needs a way out. So is he gonna try to steal a pirate ship from somebody? One thing that we could see to even out the scales, because I already talked about how I think it's really unbalanced, is maybe Korobo could throw somebody at Hachi. Because remember, they don't know about Korobo's. They don't know about Vanderdecken's power. Vanderdecken could throw somebody at Hachi, because Hachi is still locked on. So if he grabs somebody and then chucks them at Hachi, assuming that there's a good distance between those two places, we could definitely see something going on there. Maybe he'll even throw Korobo at them, and that could create a new fight to distract some of the Straw Hats, Sanji, Chopper, and then, Chopper will probably be busy healing Hachi, so maybe there could be a Sanji fight in there, which would be interesting. Another thing that we could talk about is the poneglyphs. This came up this chapter, the Blank Century. Robin found out some information that a poneglyph is there. We haven't really talked about poneglyphs too much in the last few arcs, so I'm kind of excited to see what's going to go on. There's so much, to be dealt with there. It makes me think back to Skypia. It makes me think, is Enel going to even show back up in the series one day? The cover page, made me think. I don't know how much I talked about the cover page, but it was, about Rika training to be a waitress, and that's in the town where Luffy recruited Zoro. Is there going to be a I'm predicting there to be 2 cover pages per Straw Hat. So an 18, maybe 20, like one after everything and one before everything with the newspaper. 9 Straw Hats is 18. That makes a 20-page cover series. That'd be kind of long, but it could work. We might see, Zoro's Master be the next one, then Gensan, Nojiko, Kaya, the Veggie Trio, etc., etc. Those are some things we could see. It makes me think about Gin. Will Gin come back into the series? I have always hoped that he would. But we're getting a little off topic. Just a little fun thing I thought about is, in Sanji's fight, now that his hair is covering up the other eye, like this eye, he could like flip the hair to cover up his other eye, and we could see him actually have like mascara or something on his hidden eye to use some Okama mascara tricks. I just thought that'd be funny. I don't actually think that'll happen, but I just thought that'd be hilarious. Bounty ups is something I have always been thinking about. I'm a huge fan of bounty ups, really hoping that that happens again. We saw Luffy's bounty in the cover story at 400 mil. We've been hearing about bounty ups a lot, but I'm hoping that after this arc there'll be huge bounty ups. We'll talk about that more in a sec. A little fun thing that in this chapter is Frankie kind of pulls a Chopper in my mind when Dan is talking to him, or Den, or whatever his name is. Frankie like hits himself in the nose and like makes his hair pop out when he's complimented. Just a cool little personality quirk that I thought was interesting. So let's talk about some of the different arc resolution possibilities for some of the different factions. What'll happen with Hody? Hody's obviously the main antagonist alongside Vanderdecken. So what is going to happen with Hody? Will he die from the drug overdose? I think the drugs are definitely going to make a big impact. Gear Second has the whole toll on Luffy because he's increasing his blood pressure, but I never really expected that to play as prominent of a role as something like this. I think the drug overdose is going to have negative side effects really quick. So, is he going to die from that? That's a little bit morbid for One Piece. Is he going to get healed by Chopper after some like internal damage from drugs? Maybe that'll make him hate humans less, although ironically Chopper's not a human, although he did eat the human devil fruit. Maybe he'll reform. I mean, he was a member of the Neptune army at one point. So we're going to have to see what happens with Hody. I'm a little interested. What'll happen with Jinbei? Is it possible that Neptune or the princes could, like, die or something? Could Neptune die? After the whole Whitebeard and Ace death, I just don't think death is something that's going to really appear in this arc. But it'd be an opportunity, or maybe he could, like, step down and Jinbei could take over as king, although he's really more of a pirate, but he does really care about Fishman Island. Could he just get his crew and leave? Is his crew even going to show up? Will Jinbei die fighting Hody? Will he just go about his business? We don't know. What happens with the Straw Hats? Do they destroy Fishman Island for some reason, like that chick predicted? Will that, like I already mentioned before, will that cause controversy with Big Mama? Will that give him a bounty raise? What's that going to do? Is he just going to defeat the bad guys, be liked by Fishman Island, yada yada yada? Will there be a new Straw Hat at all? That's kind of where I want to leave things off today. I don't know. So far there doesn't seem to be any good candidates. The only people that are really free enough to be Straw Hats that don't have huge ties is Karabu, but I don't really expect that. He seems too evil, considering he wants to sell the mermaids and stuff. Plus he's a Logia user. Don't really expect a Logia to join right now. Jinbei, unfortunately that's a big option. I really don't want to see Jinbei join, but it is unfortunately a big option. The swordsman guy, Hyozu, he doesn't really have any ties to anybody. He doesn't really seem evil. It doesn't really seem good. He's a swordsman, though, and we already have 2 swordsmen, so that'd be kind of weak. But I really like his character so far. But he doesn't seem to have a dream or design in that sense, so we'll have to see. So those are some of the key picks. Fukaboshi, his character design just seems so bland to me. I wouldn't expect it. But I do kind of want a Fishman to join the crew, if not now, then next arc. So we'll see how it plays out. This could just be an arc for the arc's sake, not be about a join-up. So that is my review. Hope everyone enjoyed. We talked about a lot of things. So many different predictions. about the different factions, the characters by their area, the different matchups, different things to talk about, arc resolutions. I want to hear your guys' opinion on everything, so leave some comments. If you enjoyed, give a thumbs up. Helps the video, helps my channel, takes you like a second. Really, it's a kind of win for everybody, well, in my opinion. So, I'm lightheaded from talking so much. I'm going to catch you guys later. Peace out.